Ruta Rapkirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst, and Dr. Barak Moluka, who is a strategic communications advisor. Brian Weke was meant to be here. He was feeling rough, can't join us today, so we continue with the conversation. Even as we are wrapping up on this, we began the issue. I think we've covered exhaustively as far as bread and milk taxation is concerned, unless you want to add anything else on top of it. But I wanted just to latch on how the Public Service Commission recently, has, and I know we've had this discussion before, that it comes up with a report and say 250, people have been employed irregularly, so to speak, within the public service sector. They've not gone through the proper channel. And I think there was a debate that was here on the table some time back. People were saying, of course, you as a ministry, you're given, or as a CS, you're given that particular liberty to appoint your own advisors. It doesn't have to go through the channel that is laid out by. We'd seek clarification, because it seems that was flagged out from the report that we have 250. When we're talking about a bloated wage bill, and we have also people who are employed irregularly. You wake up one day and you have, someone is been tapped as a consultant somewhere. He's been tapped as an advisor in this particular ministry. Where is that headed? And recently, we can see also Taifa Leo is holding it. It says, wajiri kiholela serikalini. Ripoti ya PSC yafichua jinsi naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua, mkuu wa mawaziri Musalia Mudavadi na mawaziri wengine walivyoajiri jumla ya washauri 250 na wafanyikazi binafsi bila kufuata utaratibu wa kisheria. And that is the story that is on page 2. And I think what has really sparked all this debate is now the hiring of Jackie Maribe as head of communications in the public service ministry, and which we've seen also the PSC chair, who has starkly denied this and said, this has to be done competitively. Let's just begin from there. Barak Moluka.
Thank you very much. First, I have not read the Taifa Leo story. I will want to read it, and read it through the lenses of responsible journalism, because, as you know, I'm a journalist by training, qualification and practice, and I also train journalists, and we teach them that words have value, and be careful about the words that you use. When you say yafichua, it means that something has been hidden, and that it is now being uncovered, that it's a secret. When you say kiholela, you are saying that it's being done
in a hodgepodge manner,
in a very haphazard, whimsical manner. And I don't want to believe that that is the case. And I'm also using my words carefully. I don't want to believe. In fact, let me say, I don't believe that that is indeed the case. There could be aberrations, deviations from the norm. I say this with the full authority of the knowledge and confidence that I have had the privilege of serving as an advisor to a member of the present cabinet. From the 2nd of November 2022 to the 2nd of November 2023, I served as advisor to the cabinet secretary in charge of the Ministry of Information Communications and the digital economy. And how were we engaged? First, every leader, president, prime minister, prime cabinet secretary, cabinet secretary, requires to work with an alternative, independent voice that they can trust. That there are people who are competent, who are mature, who have the capacity to advise, who understand the sector, and who can advise the minister without flattering them, without saying things that are politically correct. That one person who will tell you that I think this is the wrong decision. I think that there's another way of looking at this. Every person who serves in high office requires that kind of person who will be respectful, but who will advise you. When you are wrong, they'll tell you, we think you are on the wrong path. When you're making wrong choices and decisions, or sometimes somebody on whom you can just bounce ideas, bounce thoughts. And our public service is cognizant of that reality. So how are these people engaged, or how was I engaged for that matter? First approached by the cabinet secretary and requested that I'd like you to consider being one of my advisors in this docket. May I please have your CV if you accept? And after reflection and consultation, I accepted, produced my CV. The CV is then shared with the head of public service, the chief of staff and head of public service, who must give the nod and say, yes, we think this is good. Then they must be taken to the Public Service Commission. And the Public Service Commission will check and see that this person has got the core competencies. Now, since you are the cabinet secretary, it is up to you to choose the people you would like to advise you, because you will stand or fall. Now, make no mistake, there are other people in the ministry. They are technocrats. But we have seen also that a lot of those people will be, for some reasons, usually of self-preservation, political consideration, are a lot more reluctant to tell you the truth, to speak the truth to power. And power requires that there must be people within who can speak the truth to it. And that's where these advisors come in. I've heard people say things like, oh, we have got only a cabinet of only 22. Why are we having 250? Remember that within that ministry, there are 2 state departments, 3 state departments, 4 state departments, and each one of those lines requires advisory. Within those ministries and within those state departments, you will find that some have got 6, 10, 15, even 20 semi-autonomous government agencies. And you require people with technocratic knowledge in those spaces to advise the minister. So even 250 is a very modest figure. And yes, the methods of appointment are there. I have got a copy. I've got an original letter that I was given by the secretary of to the Public Service Commission as a letter of engagement for a specified period of time, and which has got the terms and the areas of service very clearly spelled out. And I believe that that was the case with everyone else. At the time of disengagement, again, there is official communication to that effect involving the Public Service Commission. So I think it is not responsible journalism when we listen to something or pick up something and we say, oh, people are being irregularly engaged in government. This government has many weaknesses.
All right.
But I do not think that that is one of them.
Right.
I think engagement in the public service in government is a very thorough affair.
It's a very thorough affair. Let me come to Kipruto Kiro, because you've served as a cabinet secretary before. But if you say it's a very thorough affair, and we have, the Public Service Commission coming and informing Kenyans that we are denying, we deny appointing, Jackie Maribe
an aberration, as I have said.
To head, just a moment, to head communications for Kuria-led ministry, insist on competitive recruitment What does that really portend? Because this flies in the face of what you're saying. It is thorough.
Yes,
it is
thorough.
But it is the same
footnote.
Public Service Commission chair who comes to deny
They have
recruitment.
denied the employment of a specific individual by a specific minister. I don't think that we can use a broad brush and say that this is what is happening across the board in government.
Right, but this has been flagged also by the Auditor General.
It doesn't matter that
this 250 that you don't follow the proper channel.
The Auditor General thought that the numbers were bloated. She did not say that proper channels had not been followed. She thought that the numbers had been bloated. And I can sit her down and educate her and tell her that look at the Ministry of Agriculture, for example. How many parastatals do we have within the Ministry of Agriculture? And the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture needs technocratic and special advice by people who are competent in that docket.
Okay.
And they are very diverse. For example, if you look at the Ministry of Information, Communications and the Digital Economy, there are two state departments. I sometimes have thought there should be even more. If you look at ICT as technology that is driving everything in the country, in the world today, you need a special advisor in that area. If you look at this, which we call the digital economy, you need an advisor or advisors. If you look at digital identity, which at the mention of, you find the country going into panic. If you look at cyber security, you need an advisor in that area. So the slate is very wide. What we need to be asking is whether we are getting value out of these people, or is someone just bringing in a crony and in a suspicious manner. Mm-hmm. And the Jack Maribe case smacks of a whimsical engagement on the part of the Cabinet Secretary, if that is what he has done. And Kenyans must get to the bottom of that matter. However, it cannot be used to make sweeping remarks about and against engagement of advisors and other specialized staff in government. Taking note also that some of these people are not even paid by the National Treasury. Some of them are paid by development partners, the World Bank, the European Union, the United Nations through its various agencies and the like. And I don't want to believe that the World Bank is going to accept that someone has been engaged in an irregular manner and that they are going to pay them, and they're paid quite handsomely.
All right, then it shouldn't be an issue then for the Auditor General if the number is bloated and they're being paid by other agencies at the end of the day. We'll actually look at that, and also these state departments as it was envisioned from the Constitution. I agree that you say, oh, we have these ministries, they have parastatals, but also we do believe, if we take, for instance, the Ministry of Treasury, we have consummate economists who are employed there. We have consummate actuarists. If the finest in this country, if you go, you'll find littered around or splashed on there on those particular doors, people who have the finest pedigree as far as the economy is concerned. And why will the government go full steam ahead and look and seek for other advisors?
Yeah, okay. Daudi Mwiraria, you remember, those experts were there. That is why you need somebody else.
The left Geoffrey Mwao and the rest that we know from also the Ministry of Treasury. Let's hear from you. Do we need? Let's hear from from the experience of the Cabinet Secretary.
Dibar, at times I'm not a very good Swahili speaker, but there is a sentence they say, asifie mvua imemunyea. And Barack Muluka today is so passionate about defending certain actions by the regime of the day, to the extent that I'm worried, in the sense that there are critical things that must be done in government. One, that position must be available. And availability of any position, including that of advisor, must be declared by Public Service Commission. And therefore, once it is available, then you may be given the leeway on a selected number of individuals to whom you feel their services will be useful to the ministry. But the number of 10, in my opinion, is too high a number. Why am I saying that? Because in every ministry, there are technical people. And for avoidance of doubt, the little period I stayed in the Ministry of Agriculture, because it's slightly more than 5 years, having been assistant minister in the same ministry twice, and minister for 5 years, I realized that there is a body of knowledge available in each ministry, particularly that of agriculture. And it's for the minister to be able to blend the resource available in the ministry and perhaps 1 or 2 or 3 advisors that may be sourced externally for a specific purpose. I know the current arrangement in the government is that there is this list of advisors that are allowed to certain specific offices, but we should not do it in a way that there is conflict. A conflict in the sense that the public servants are guarded. They guard that particular territory so jealously that if you are to bring advisors, you'll be left alone as a minister. You may not have really the benefit of information. And the way to do it, because I know some of them are still learning, like Korea, possibly is done 1.5 years there, but he still needs to learn. That the way to do it is that use the resource that you have. And if you must recruit somebody, go through the due process. The same person may be recruited eventually, but allow the person to go through the due process such that the public service is also comfortable that this is the person who fits the bill. Otherwise, we run the risk of bringing in people, and after some time, they may not even be paid. I remember some of them were not paid for about 6 months until the due process was used. Then their salaries and their emoluments were backdated 6 months later. Yes, there is always excitement when you are getting into a new office, but I think the due process, in my opinion, must be used. Otherwise, if you create a layer of advisors, you'll be shut out of the information in the ministry. The way we used to do, we used to have a meeting every Tuesday. We were calling the Big Five, my 2 assistant ministers, the PS Director of Agriculture and I as the chair, so that we go through a number of issues. And beneath that, there was also a number of technical staff. And that technical staff, there was specific for research and extension, issues of land development, and all manner of issues. They would be able to advise. And many government officers, I can repeat, are willing to advise any minister. Once you get in, they receive you. It is how you tap into that particular potential. Yeah.
Because we had State House unmasking 483 ghost workers in State House.
Yeah.
We have over 2,000 workers who are on ghost workers who are on payroll. And we're talking about also a government that is currently in this epoch of time has the highest wage bill ever that this country has ever known. So in light of where we are and where the country is economically, because we're trying to shore up austerity measures, but we've not made good of this particular promise that Kenyans were promised. We'll have not a bloated government, we'll do away with excessive loans, but we can see it continues apace at the end of the day. Talking about state departments, I think that is another question that has been raised regarding state departments. I don't know the craft of the constitutions. Some of them, they've been here, and they've raised issues with the state department that have, I don't know how it's crafted in the constitution that state departments should have a threshold, or what is the rigmarole, the sort of the criteria is actually there in creation of State Department? Is it a State Department? Is it a creation of the Constitution, or it's a creation of an act? Maybe you can educate us so that, as Barak says, he thinks from his own assessment, look at ICT, we need even more State Departments as to what is confined to right now. But in creation of these other State Departments, how does it come by?
Usually what I know, unless things have changed, is that the government dispatch that is issued by the presidency usually identifies various departments within the entire government. And in each ministry, they would be specific. I remember I had two assistant ministers all the time. One was in charge of research and extension, and the other one was research of land development and regulatory services. And that should not really increase the number. The number must be done professionally by Public Service Commission to say how many people are required for specific ministry, for specific department, or for specific portfolio. So at the end of the day, that number, once it is defined, then the filling in is done professionally. But at the level of the minister, it may need one or two advisors. And these advisors are really not, it is not like they must be specific about every unit within the ministry. Yeah, because you can have people who have some general broad knowledge on issues of governance, and some other people may have a broad knowledge on a certain specific area. But at the end of the day, there are also many public servants who are willing to give you that information. Because really, a minister is not a stranger in the ministry. And whatever information you require, you'll be given by those officers. It's a question of how do you use them? How do you make them get motivated so that they feel they are working not for you, but they are working for their country. So at the end of the day, it is the leadership of the minister that will determine the success or failure of a ministry. You can have all these advisors and you do nothing because you are not providing effective leadership. It is the leadership. It's not even, that's why at times when people make certain mistakes, that the Minister of Finance, the Minister for Health must be a medical doctor. It's not true. It is leadership that you need to provide. The Minister for Roads and Public Works must be an engineer. That's not true. Because there is roads engineer, there are specific engineers for various departments. It is for you to provide the leadership and use that potential within the ministry to be able to meet the objectives within specific times, and we set milestones. For example, even this regime, they started setting milestones for the ministries, but those milestones must be set by officers of the ministry, that within this specific period, we want to achieve 1, 2, 3. Then you judge them on the basis of what they have said. It should not be that you must do 1, 2, 3. It is there to say, within the resources available, within the time available, we want to achieve 1, 2, 3. For example, we want to open areas under maize from certain thousands of acres to so many thousands of acres. And they measure themselves against the milestones they have set. Otherwise, you just tell somebody to do this and do that without really clear parameter on how they will achieve it, you block the system. Yeah.
Right, let's hear from Professor Kindiki on this.
Yeah. Thank you, Dubar. I think the whole issue is about the Public Service Commission. Well, I think their worry is about the competitive recruitment aspect. And I think, in my understanding, there are some duties which are done by what the Taifa Leo is reporting about 250 advisors and the personal staff who have been recruited. There are some special duties that these people undertake. And I think as long as the due process of recruitment has been followed, then I don't think that there's nothing wrong to worry about who should work in the office of the president, deputy president, and the cabinet secretaries, and other officers who are entitled for advisors and personal staff. Because the bar, I think that looking at our background, there is what it is, or reality, what it is actually, what is supposed to be, not reality, but the ideal, what is ideal, and the reality on the ground. If, for example, I need a cook, or maybe somebody to advise me on a certain aspect, as they put it, and it's a very crucial aspect in my ministry, if I'm the cabinet secretary, or you, or somebody else, or the ones who are existing, I think one should be given the opportunity, maybe to have a hand of the person who is going to advise on that particular area, because I believe there are some sensitive areas that you don't just put it open in the public, that anyone can be forced to come to your office and start advising you. And I've said that with a lot of respect of what is going on in our political arena, because we know we come from different political orientations, different political, perspective, and if one is denied the chance to maybe have a say on one who is going to be an advisor or a personal staff, I think one cannot just recruit anybody to come and give advice because of these diversities that we have in our existence as a community. And there is an issue of also trust, which is very important. That there are some stuff that you'll be given if they are done competitive, and if you are just somebody that handed over to office, you feel that you are not very comfortable. Not because that you doubt other people or you don't work with other people, but just because of our orientations. That what is ideal or what is supposed to be done, one may come with what is supposed to be done, but on the other hand, it's not giving you the whole story. So you'll find that these state officers would like to work with the people they are comfortable with, the people that they trust, the people that they think they're okay. But as long as the people they are given, the staff they are given, their advisors and the personal staff are people who are qualified, because that is very important. You don't give anybody that kind of position. And then the due process of the Public Service Commission is followed. And I think the issue of selecting the one to work for the state office, I think that one, the Public Service Commission could just give a leeway for the officer or that office to have a way of trying to get the most qualified person, as long as it's qualified and fulfilling all the conditions of Chapter 6 about the leadership and the integrity of the Constitution of Kenya, which states very clearly what is supposed to, the qualities or the responsibilities and roles of different people who enter into any kind of leadership position in this country. So I think sometimes those who write papers, like my colleague who is in journalism.
Yes. Careful what is coming.
I am very careful to mention about it. But I must say that sometimes they may pick something and it's so exaggerated, it looks like it has it's something very, very unique and serious, because they're also selling the news to the public. But I think, all said and done, I'm sorry if I have stepped in shoes, but I think some of the information it can be put out of context. And I think the 250 staff whom is alleged that they have been illegally recruited, they have not specified these numbers in terms of which offices and how many people are supposed to be in that office, and that office has employed this number and has exceeded with this number. You know, those details, we don't see them. You only see a figure of 250, and that figure can be translated to mean anything.
Yeah.
Really, anything mean
I think
that they are adequate.
There was
and
a
they are
whole
sufficient for
publication.
that.
There was a whole publication that
Yeah, yeah.
really itemized, and
But
put.
it was not critical.
It was not.
No, I'm just trying to refute that. There are principles, because
Yes.
it seems that also Kindiki
But,
is trying to say that
you see,
this is just hodgepodge information put out together without
the brand of
They tried to
verifiability.
do so,
and
but
it's
it was
and it's
not. I
factual.
doubt whether they understated this office requires this number. It has seen by this number, and therefore these numbers, this is excess of what is supposed to be required. Those are taken. Those are details. Those are details.
Yeah, but
Professor.
what is bringing to the fore? Barak, I'll come to you. But what is coming to the fore as well is that there is no ceiling, completely. That you have the latitude, you as a ministry, to have whatever
No,
number of
that-
advisors.
that-
No,
that-
just a
that's
moment.
not true.
Yeah, because this.
Dibal.
Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, because I need to just get clarity from you. What is the threshold? Because it seems I can have a number of advisors, and I know maybe there is an upcoming project that it is given at a particular time scale or a time frame that needs to be finished, that you have the latitude, that is being sponsored. It's a PPP, it's a public-private partnership. And also the bankrolling of that particular project, it is from these donors. That is understandable. But why would a whole public service commission come with a list that we have 480 ghost workers in State House? We have over 2,000.
You are mixing and conflating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm bringing just broadly what is being espoused or being put by the Public Service Commission.
Yeah, but in that statement, it is not saying the limit. Even they themselves are not saying the limit.
All right.
So they are not saying the limit. So if they say there is excess of what? And again, if that excess number is there and is required, it's something that can be discussed at the appropriate forum, a conversation leading to, but you cannot condemn the whole issue of recruitment process and say that
All right.
they are not, because
I
really
think
they are
next
there
week,
legally.
I think
and
next
they
week
should
we should
be there.
invite a chair here so that at least we can get also
get the details
from the source's mouth.
Yeah.
Barak.
Yes, I think you need to invite Mr. Masharia to this forum.
Yes.
And invite my former colleague and teacher, Professor Muyandi, to come and speak to these things. But before that, we should be careful not to conflate, mix things and mislead.
If you heard me clearly, I said that this acts as a segue to a broader discussion about the public sector.
You are talking more than your panelists, eh? So let me listen to you. Okay, proceed.
Yeah, so I was mentioning, I had mentioned earlier that this opens the discussion broadly to the public sector hiring, yeah? And now that you've been there, you can give us the benefit of what you do know. So I was just trying to also correct the aspect that you're saying we're conflicting issues, right? I'm just putting all that we can now decipher them.
Allow me to cogitate and to unbundle when I say you are conflating and mixing issues. I restate, the chair, Mr. Debal Ainea, is conflating and mixing issues and misleading the viewing public. When you talk about ghost workers, you are talking about non-existent office holders that the portfolio indicates that it's occupied and that there's somebody who is being paid a sum of money from the public coffers, but that person does not exist, which means that those monies are being stolen by someone, okay, or by a group of people. That is where ghost workers come in. When you talk about a bloated entity, on the other hand, you are talking about people who actually exist, and the numbers cannot be justified. Their presence cannot be justified. They are people of bone, blood, and flesh whom we can touch and we can name, but they are not desirable in those portfolios. So when we blend the two, I think there is a conflation. Now, the notion and practice of advisors exists everywhere in the world. You have heard about the government of the United States of America, for example, having a national security advisor, having a national foreign policy advisor, in spite of the fact that they have got cabinet secretaries in those positions. And I pick it up from where Professor Kindiki has left it, that the issue of trust is very important. And for you to appreciate fully the issue of trust, we must make certain demarcations in government, because there is government as the executive and there is government as the public service. The public service is that entity that endures, that continues, has got above it the stratum that is called the executive. The executive comes and goes. If we were to borrow from Professor Chinua Achebe's The Anthills of the Savannah Grasslands, yeah, the executive are the grassland. They come and go. The public service are the anthills. They are always there. They will work with any government in power. And when that government exits, another one will come. Now, this government that comes requires a bit of its own advisory outside what exists within the public service. For example, and I did mention, and I beg your pardon, I jutted in at some point and said the ones who advised Daudi Mwiraria, who lost his job on account of documents he signed, and I want to believe that maybe Mheshimiwa Kirwa served in the same government in one capacity or the other, was advised by the technical staff within the ministry and signed the documents, and we know what happened to him. We know what happened to Dr. Ongonga Achieng' Oneko, having been advised by those technocrats, or to Rebecca Nabutola and to others. So you need some people that you trust, that you are coming with into that portfolio, and who are like your second eye or your third eye, and it is common practice all over the world. You ask about the state departments, who creates them, how many they should be. Of course, they are created by the president, and he derives the prerogative to create those state departments from the Constitution. And after he has created those state departments, there is a role that Parliament plays when it is approving, for instance, the appointment of principal secretaries, who are the administrative heads of the state departments and the principal accounting officers. So how many should they be, or how large should the public service be? And is it bloated? Perhaps that is a debate we should have, because nobody has told us that the public service should have this ceiling, that it should have not more than, say, so many engineers of a specific denomination of engineering, that it should have not more than so many journalists, information officers, not more than so many planning officers. Nobody has told us. Maybe if we want to start introducing those leads and ceilings, then it should cut right across the board, starting with the public service itself, Public Service Commission itself.
Indeed, and I think it's a critical question, because when you talk about a bloated wage bill, what measurement are you using as a yardstick that this is a bloated wage bill? As far as we know, Peter Drucker says what is not measured cannot be managed.
I start by looking at the perquisites, the pay packs, it's not necessarily the numbers of people we have that are bloating the wage bill. It is how much people are being paid. And wage bills in this country are, first of all, very disproportionate and certainly bloated, both in the public and private sectors. We are in a country where you will find on the same payroll, someone is being paid 3 million, 5 million, and another one is being paid 20,000. How do you rationalize that kind of payroll?
Mm-hmm. Critical question. And I think we'll head to a break right now, because even as we're speaking about the Public Service Commission and these jobs that are being indicated that some of them they are bloated. There's a question of the CSs right now that is in the public domain, and this will head to Parliament. They're looking forward to maybe installing that 22 positions, and the other 50 that we saw, or the other figures that we saw are over and above 22, then that will go really down the tubes. But the reason I'm raising that question of, because the Public Service Commission, the commission itself, which are raising queries about bloated numbers, from my understanding that the people who put out these vacancies and make the application, it has to go through their process. So why will they come and ask about the 2,000 ghost workers? There is a discrepancy somewhere, and this is the reason why I was trying to, as you put it, conflict this issue, because if you have, if you've made your application or you've been appointed by a certain minister, does it go through the due process of a Public Service Commission, and then then they give their the signature at the end of the day? It does. That's all. That's
a very important question.
Indeed.
Which must be taken beyond the national government. They must also go all the way down to county government and find out how is it looking like in that particular space.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happens is that maybe there's recruitment of one staff, and maybe the Public Service Commission has not been contacted, and now they want to blame the whole process, and then they start fighting that kind of issue, which is just a one-case thing, and then they start saying that this is a bloated kind of recruitment. But I don't think that is the point, because all these people who are employed in these offices, they go through the Public Service Commission. I don't think whether the government will be, ignorant, or the people who, to recruit such a number of people, and they have not gone through the Public Service Commission. But if there is maybe one person who somehow has bypassed them and has been recruited, then they make noise to say this is a bloated kind of employment or recruitment, just because they are using one case.
Thank you.
And that should not confuse the public.
All right.
They should set it officially, and they do it in the boardroom.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we continue looking deeply on this as well. And moving forward, will we see the installation of 22 CSs? We know this is a matter that has been declared by the court to be unconstitutional, but there is a resumption or a sliver of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as this is concerned. The parliamentarians will actually pick it up, and maybe the two will be installed at the end of the day. So we'll take a short break. Don't go away. You're watching Uongozi Today.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Maricom chapa dimba, mzing chapa dimba, tuna chapa dimba, cheza kama wewe. Na chapa dimba hadi dreams ime come true. Skili imejipa sabu safu wame come through. Mepata chance ya kushine na ma 1-2. Sikuzi kupta wanatambua na ni bazuna shabiki wako basi intime nice kwa kimoja weka dimba kati ligi solo na fan page. Dreams valley tuko on na machampe form.
When it comes to service, delivery matters. And at Standard Courier Service, we deliver on time and never take forever, without losing your packages or taking you in circles, so you never have to keep guessing if you made the right choice for your deliveries, because we never cut corners when it comes to you. And get it all countrywide by dialing 0793 599 684 for the Standard Courier Services. Efficient, flexible, 24/7.
Politics is a game of numbers. And in Kenya, politics defines the order of the day.
Niwaambie asante sana.
No friendship is permanent, only interests align.
I'm ready, yes, to go for the chairmanship of the African Union.
There's so much happening and so little time to pay attention to all the details. Indeed, the devil is in the detail. Join me, Emmanuel Tor, your political man with a front row seat in the world of politics, as I give you the parliament's in-tray and the interviews that matter. And myself, Jesse Rogers, as I ask the hard questions.
Mimi ni Ahmed Muhammad Athman, imamu wa msikiti wa Landis hapa Nairobi. Ramadhan ni mwezi wa 9 katika kalenda ya Kiislamu, na mwezi huu Waislamu wanakuwa ni wenye kufunga kuanzia asubuhi mpaka magharibi jioni. Lengo na makusudio ni kupata msamaha na kufuata amri ya Mwenyezi Mungu katika Qur'ani takatifu.
Mti mkuu ukianguka wana ndege huyumba. Hii inaaminisha kwamba mzee akiaga dunia elimu yake hupotea.
You see, we define culture as a way of life. Culture our roots, culture our life.
Wanawake kazi ni kusaga, kutwanga na kusaga, kupika chakula. Ndio kitu ya zamani ya wanawake, wasichana, wazee. Ulikuwa unafunzwa na mamako.
The youth must appreciate that the elders are a resource to them.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
You're watching Uongozi Today, tail end of the program right now, and we're interrogating the issue of a public service commission with the recent, of course, questions on recruitment. 250 seems advisors in different departments, especially from the office of the Deputy President and also the CS, that is a prime CS as well. And it seems going by what is being reported and information that we had before, is that some of these processes are not duly followed in terms of recruitment, and this is what we were discussing before we took a short break. And we want to segue that also with now there is a debate that is coming to the floor of the House that is regarding also the National Government Administrative bill that will be on the floor of the House to be debated, where it is being suggested that the 22 CSs, that is the CAS, as we know it, the court pronounced itself on that, declaring those positions, the 50 positions, unconstitutional. But the MPs will go full steam ahead with a plan that is up their collective sleeves to make sure that they cut the number to 22. And will we see the light, or will they see the light of the day, the 22, in terms of being shaken into place for those positions? Right, before we took a short break, I think, Barak, we were done with you on that particular matter. So Kipruto.
Over CSS?
No. CSS will come to you on that particular matter of the PSC.
You know, Dibal, it's very interesting. I don't know whether I'm following the debate today very well, because it is the Public Service Commission complaining. And therefore, if they are complaining, and the Controller and Auditor General, these are institutions of government which are independent, and they are secured by the Constitution, and they are complaining that not all is well. We would expect more information, perhaps, but even whatever they are saying is the tip of an iceberg. When they talk of 480 ghost workers in State House, it tells you a lot about human resource audit, that we have always insisted that almost in all tiers of government, whether it is national or county, there are many people who are working who should not be working. And there are many people who are not there, but they are seen to be working because they don't exist, but those the salaries are paid to real or imagined people who are not there. So my take is that let's take it seriously, and we recommend to the government that they do human resource audit at all levels, so that we know this wage bill, is it the pags that are high, or is it that the people don't exist but we are paying them? And number two, I think it's also important that any position that is occupied by an individual first is created by the Public Service Commission, and it's a recommendation. That's why there is a State Department in charge of public service in the office of the minister today. That every ministry, whenever they feel there is a need for a certain position, first it must be created by writing to that particular department, which we were calling DPM in the past. I don't know what they call it now. And the DPM will be able to assess the needs of specific ministries. And once the needs are seen to be critical and needed, then they create the position. And that position, therefore, goes now to the public service to recruit competent staff to fill the position. So that's the procedure. And if these 250 were employed without following that procedure, then they are unprocedural. And that's why Controller and Auditor General can only flag out an issue that is not following the due process. They will not just write a story just for the sake of writing a story. It must be something credible that does exist, that there is an anomaly somewhere within the State Department. Finally, 250. You are telling me almost in every ministry there are 10 people in addition to the existing complement of the ministry. I don't know why we should have about 10 people to advise one minister and still not expect a clash between the advisors and the existing staff in every ministry. Today, if I went to any ministry for that matter, I will find people that I can trust. But of course, you may need one or two people, like what we were saying off air. They give you a compliment that you can employ one groundsman. When you are a minister, you can employ a cook, and perhaps somebody else will be able to assist you doing one or two. But it is not that you will be made to employ 10 people, that when you live with them, because there is an existence of a complement in every ministry that you can source from, and that complement will assist you run the ministry effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just in addition to what Mheshimiwa is saying, I think I think the Public Service Commission should also, as much as they concentrate with the top offices in the country, they should also look into issues about counties and other lower levels, because we don't hear much about these issues at the county level. Could be even much higher than the 250. That is a very small number. You concentrate with a CS with about 10 people, a ministry with 10 people, 20 people, and then you hand all these ministries, they add up to about 250. That's a very small number if you look at the countrywide at the national level. I'm not saying that that should these 250 should not follow the due process, but we are saying as the Public Service Commission should not only concentrate on the office of the president, the deputy president, and the CS, and they stop there. They should cascade that to the lower levels. In fact, I do not know very well, but because I don't have the facts and the statistics, it could be even worse in the counties, because once the 47 counties, we don't know how those people are recruited, and we don't know. They are not telling us. We are saying we don't know because it's not in public domain. They only concentrate on the highest level, the highest office, and the second office, and maybe CS there, and they stop there. I remember, I think somewhere, sometimes last year, there was a case followed by EACC, and this case, I will not name that department. It's a small department. And they were saying that they are investigating Director General who had employed about more than 100 people in one state department. That was only the case I just saw in the press, and it was in public domain that EACC is investigating that. Then I would ask myself, if that one department has got about so-called, the ones we are saying, ghost workers, 100, and how many departments do we have in all ministries? And how many, governors? We have 47 counties with 47 governors. And how many departments are in those counties? If they could go deeper and investigate without only, putting a lot of effort on one area and not others, then I think they would help this country as we move forward in terms of recruitment by Public Service Commission and the oversight they are giving, and even the Auditor General. Instead of also concentrating on that office only, they should also cascade that down to the grassroots and see how they can reveal very, very important information that can save a lot of money for this country in terms of the wage bill, which they are saying is bloated. In terms of human resource, we are saying it's also bloated. 250 compared to maybe 100 in one department and the county level. I'm not saying they are there, but I don't know. I have no statistics, but I'm saying we should get this information as much as we can coming in the press and in public domain so that people can debate at the national level rather than just being quiet as if nothing is happening down there. And yet, counties are also consuming a lot of public funds.
Indeed.
A lot of money in the national budget. So I think my view and my contribution in this debate is that let the Public Service Commission go further and do more work than just concentrating in one area. Thank you.
We had Kipruto Rapkiro talking about conflicting maybe interest or views sometimes that can come to and clash in the public domain. And just to give you a recent clash that was happening in regarding this particular new national government administration laws that we're about just to tease out on the CSS bit. We had the Monica Juma differing with Muturi, Justin Muturi, over the PSC controversial bill. And it says members of parliament, they read the Riot Act to government agencies for speaking at cross purposes about two legislative proposals before the National Assembly, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. The move came after President William Ruto's National Security Advisor, Monica Juma, differed with Attorney General Justin Muturi on origin of contentious national government administration laws. Just to give you a snippet on how critical also what we're discussing is especially of the matters of their advisors and how they're being channeled and clashing with different officers at the end of the day. I don't know what you weigh in. I'm not really castigating it, but I'm just putting it forward as a point of discussion.
See, if I have a different thought from that of another government official, and I'm an advisor to the president or to the cabinet secretary, I will not come to make those pronouncements in public space. It is irresponsible to do that. I would go to the authority that I advise and give that advice. I will not bring that into public space. In fact, that is why the advisor exists, essentially so that they can either contribute to the validation of the existing thought or to position an alternative thought and say, I think differently about it. So there's nothing wrong about JBN Turi, Attorney General, having one stream of thought and Monica Juma having a different strand of thought. What is wrong is about them coming to process those thoughts in public. Those thoughts should be workshopped where they belong, in government, in cabinet. Moreover, seeing that Monica Juma, as a security advisor, has been appointed at cabinet level. And so you would expect that there would be those forums within which these thoughts are processed without hemorrhaging into public space prematurely and generating unnecessary controversy and confusion. Somebody needs to rein them in. I don't know who that somebody is. But Professor has advanced this conversation about the county government. I believe that we have got what are called county public service boards, whose responsibility it is to rationalize those numbers and the positions for appointment. And if you tie that up with Mheshimiwa Kirwa's contestation against advisors, please take note that these people who have been employed in the county government remain there, even long after the governor has gone. Now you're finding layers upon layers of redundant staff who have been hired by successions of governors. There are counties which have had 3 different governors between 2013 and now, and there are people who are employed by the Public Service Board during those seasons. Remember that governors generally are politicians, and unlike cabinet secretaries. And these politicians have made certain promises to people who have helped them during the campaigns. So when they get into office, people are looking up to them for employment and other gainful opportunities. There's likely to be more bloating there than there is in national government. But my last word on this, let us have a constructive, substantive debate, discourse on this matter. It is not sufficient to just float numbers and say that there are 480 ghost workers in State House. Publish their names. Publish the names of the ghosts. Even a ghost has a name. Yeah? There are no ghosts without names, especially when those ghosts are on payrolls. Give us their details, that there is ghost so-and-so and ghost so-and-so. And tell us also, since when have those ghosts been there? Are these Ruto's ghosts? Are they Kibaki's ghosts, Moi's ghosts, or are they Uhuru Kenyatta's ghosts if they are in State House? Let us know who they are and since when, and publish their names, publish even the portfolios that their so-called ghosts are occupying, if a ghost can occupy space. Then finally, very finally, there are limitations in terms of numbers of how many advisors each cabinet secretary is allowed to engage. And as I stated before we started going around in circles, there is a procedure of engaging these people that you cannot just wake up as cabinet secretary and tell somebody that from today you are my advisor, and you pick up the phone, you tell the HR department that now employ these people. These people must have a personal number, which is given by the Public Service Commission. They must have an IFMIS number before they can get any payment from the government of Kenya. And for avoidance of doubt, you cannot even get an opportunity for internship in the public service of this country today without going through the Public Service Commission. So let us have journalism that meets the standards of quality journalism. And I believe that the people who have written these stories are not people I have trained, as a trainer of journalists in this country. The ones I train write responsible stories. They are analytical. They give you details. They give you substance. They don't just pick up rumors and put them there and say that these people have been irregularly employed. They go out and investigate, and if they are taken to task, they can even give you the names and show that these people do not even have letters of appointment from the Public Service Commission. As far as I know, they have letters of appointment.
All right. I think it will be a good thing to also invite the public service, as we've agreed. You can shed some more light on this as well next time, so that we broadly delve deeper into this and find out good suggestion that, yes, we know who are these people, 480, what are their names, what is the IFMIS number that they do have from so that we can try and track down and see where are these ghost workers, how much money are they being paid, what are some of the emoluments that really comes with the position they hold, and where is this money who is withdrawing the money from their bank accounts at the end of the day. Because I think these are things, as you raise, are very critical when you're talking about reining in wage bill in this country, and there are many loopholes which are not being plugged. The other day we were talking about asset registry in this country, where the Auditor General has decried the fact that even from the counties, we don't have any credible asset registry. And that is another loophole where we lose money. And so when we talk about bleeding, it's not just corruption that is exchanging, but there are other ways of corruption through the asset registry, through the ghost workers at the end of the day. Thank you. I want to just to move us closely to the topic that I just raised with the CSs, because it seems there is now a plan up the collective sleeves of their members of parliament to try and save the 50 CSs. But since that figure was also given as a plotted figure, that is 50, we trimmed down again to 50, because this is what I was talking about. Barack, don't laugh. When we talk about you and you're saying who has the prerogative of creating 50 CSS position at the end of the day, and you say, even from the State Department, he draws that prerogative from the Constitution.
He does. He does.
On the CSS as well. Yes. The court declares he has no prerogative. The creation of those 50 positions for the CSS.
The president has the prerogative to create those offices and then present them to the Public Service Commission for consideration. And President Uhuru Kenyatta did that when he presented the numbers to the Public Service Commission. He was advised to cut them down. President Ruto came up with the numbers which were bigger than what the Public Service Commission had approved, and they led to a lot of trouble. They ended up in court. They ended up being thrown out. But I think that recognizing fully recognizing that many times these positions are given to people as rewards, which should not be the case.
Okay, just let me butt in so that I'll come to you later. I need to hear from, so that at least we give them also some good sufficient time on this as well. Because Barack says, okay, there were 22. This is what we had as, is there an act, first of all, for the, I think it was the prerogative of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Then we had the 22 CSs. And then we have also the 50 that, that was a total number, addition of almost 23?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Ibal, that in Kenya, we have almost to put into the constitution everything that is being done. Look at this regime. It has 51 permanent secretaries. And of course, the limit is not provided for in the constitution the way they say you need to have 22 CSS. Mm-hmm. Now, it seems in future we might have really to put into law whether we need the CAS, and if we need a CAS, how many of them do we need? Because we seem not to trust each other. We're running short of trust almost in every aspect of our life. So my take is that, yes, the president may need people to assist in various ministries, which I think is imperative. Mm-hmm. But it must be within the procedure, because even the court outlawed, not because of the numbers alone, it was that the procedure was not followed. To allow whatever they recommended to the public service, whatever came as feedback from the public service is different from what they eventually appointed to the positions of CAS in various departments of government. So the procedure is the main problem. Mm-hmm. And all these things, even the one that we have just mentioned, and I think at times we become unfair by vilifying the media, because the media is not reporting from its own source. It's reporting from Public Service Commission, and it's reporting from Controller and Auditor General, the issues that we have raised this morning. And those offices, they only flag an issue that has not followed the procedure or has not followed the law, and nobody, like Controller and Auditor General, nobody has sufficiently given the answer. It becomes an audit query. If there is an issue, they flag out, and there's nobody to explain why that has taken place. Otherwise, if it is properly explained, it is dropped as an audit query. So at times, we are unfair to those who may not have a chance to come and defend themselves. I think whatever we are saying about public service, whatever we are saying about Controller and Auditor General, those are issues that exist. It is not figment of imagination of those people, the holders of those particular offices. It is an issue that does exist, and they raised, and nobody gave an answer. This one of CS, I hope it will see the light of day, first by following procedure, such that every step that is supposed to be followed is done, and finally, those who are still hanging around, because I'm told some are using government vehicles, some are not, and others have been appointed to other portfolios. I think it will be useful eventually that the few that will be appointed in those positions must know their fate, because increasingly time is running out. And while we talk of political rejects, which is a common term that is done by those who have not gotten involved in politics, a politician is also a professional. And the fact that you did not get enough number of votes does not make you a reject. You know, some of the people who talk about it have never even gotten 10,000 votes in their lifetime. And therefore, when you call me political reject because I got 50,000 and whoever was ahead of me got 53, yes, I become a reject because I did not win the seat. But I was not rejected totally. I was given 50,000 vote of trust. And that's why the president has to balance all these individuals with those who supported him, those who ran for governor, those who ran for various positions. And they have a critical number that those people perhaps voted for him as they voted for the individual. For example, like in Meru County, there were 3 candidates for the position of governor. Each one of them got over 100,000 votes. Yes, the winner got slightly more than the other 2. But the other 2 combined got more votes than the winner. So, and the president needs all those people. So at times we use this word political reject. And as a politician who has won and lost elections, that term at times is used in a way that is derogatory by people who have never even contested to lose. Because, you know, when you contest an election, you should add to your CV whether you lost or won. And some people have never contested, or they contested and they got miserable number of votes, and they call you with 50,000 votes plus a political reject. It worries me because we seem to have 2 classes of people in society.
Right. Okay. I can see also Otieno Molo, Dr. Otieno Molo has actually given his opinion here regarding his CSS job. I won't be able to just read the entire article, but just to pick out so that we can actually give also, it can give us some peg to hang our thoughts on. It says here that the function ascribed to the office of the CAS are a duplication of those already assigned to CSS and PSS. Establishment of the office was therefore likely to result in conflict of roles. That, having been a member of the Committee of Experts on Constitutional Review and having undertaken public participation around the country, it was his view, that is attended, that Kenyans intended to do away with the position of assistant ministers. The office of a CSS is akin to that of the assistant minister, and the proposal offends the spirit of the Constitution of Kenya and the will of Kenyan people. That even the courts pronounced themselves on the unconstitutionality of the office of the CSS, as was determined in Matindi and 4 others, control of budget and 50 others. Interested parties petition. I won't be able to read all of it. That is a constitution under Article 152, subsection I-D, limits the number of cabinet secretaries to 22. Consequently, a proposal to introduce an uncapped number of CSS is indeed an affront to the Constitution and would occasion additional expense on public finance and pose an unnecessary burden on Kenyan taxpayers. Consequently, the member proposed the deletion of new clause 12A in the provision of a bill relating to the National Government Coordination Act 2023.
Yeah, I think, can I?
Sure,
yeah. I think just to make my comment, to start where Mheshimiwa has left, there is a notion of trying to demean politicians, and sometimes politics in this country is not taken as a profession. But for me, those who are in politics, and if you have maybe engaged in some political maneuver, even in a very small scale, politics is a very difficult issue to do. And sometimes when somebody, as Mheshimiwa says, you even pronounce that you want to be an MCA. That's the lowest seat in the political system or ladder in this country. Even pronouncing itself, you are given no insults, and you really fight even to survive, to be even in the list, leave alone just being in the list of those to be voted for. So I think we should congratulate our people and the members of the politicians who have really even tried, and they have failed. But I don't think it's failing, but the votes were not enough, because all of us cannot be elected. Democratically, there must be a winner, there must be a loser. And if you are a loser in any election, does not mean you are reject. You are not a reject. It's only that maybe one got more votes than the other. So away from that, the issue of professional, because politicians deal with this simplicity of issues. They don't like issues that are complex. The complex issues are dealt with the bureaucrats. That sometimes when pronounced is political, I read papers, and then you find that people castigate politicians. Why did you say this? Why did you say that? But it's a professional that dictates people sometimes to make some statement. But bureaucrats deal with the complexity. Complexity means the details of the matters. Now, having said that, I'm coming to the issue of CAS. In the last regime of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, he had 23. He had 23 CAS. And I think as far as I know about this issue, the President William Ruto only 127. Only 27 to the figure of 23, making it 50. And the courts were questioning the 27. Not actually the whole issue of, like the one who has read just the article, I don't know, the person who has written that article, is right in whatever, views you express it. But my worry is, in one regime, you accept one thing. Another regime comes, then it's totally rejected. I find it not fair. But they can argue on the issue of the procedure, which can be discussed, and if there is a gap that is existing in the way the processes of appointment was done, then that is something different. But you will find somebody arguing that the cabinet, the CASs have no role in this country. They should not be able to. They should not be even appointed. They cannot do that. They cannot. It's like it's a sham. It's nothing really. But to me, if that office has been existent, it should, and if it should not be there, there should be a procedure also of discussing and seeing how it should not happen. But I think in the previous regime, they were 23, now they are 27. So I think we should be asking as a country, do we need 27? And if so, if we need them, are the procedures which were used to appoint them followed? And the matter can be settled on that. But when people just trying to bring politics in a national issue that has been existing, then you also start reading some some funny or intentions in the whole process. But what I think here is that about the 50 CASs, if there is nothing, if something that was not done, it should be done so that they are constitutionally taken and approved, and then they start working. Otherwise, they will continue drawing people talking in the streets, or they are drawing salaries, they are driving cars. They cannot walk. They have to drive. They have to do as they wait for the court ruling, because the courts did not say they stop driving. There's no court that said that. The only saying it was unconstitutional. But that does not mean that I should not drive. I should drive home. I should drive whatever, but the issue of unconstitutional should not. So I don't know why people just try to make it a joke. It's like a joke, but it should not be. It is a national. Okay. It's a national conversation, and I'm really serious on this matter, Debar, that that office has been there. It's not a new office in this regime, and therefore, if the procedures were not followed, then they should be followed. That is the question, not abolishing the whole issue. Because if you start now saying abolishing, the office of CAS is like you are saying that there is something seriously wrong in this regime and the other regime was right. So that is not right to both. So if you want to be fair, but if constitution, elements were not really catered for, then that one should be followed. This is my take.
Okay. Barak, you want to respond?
Yeah.
As we also consider our closing remarks just briefly.
Yes, first, I think it is all right for people to drive, but it also matters whose car they are driving and under what mandate they are driving that car.
And who is fueling that car.
Who is fueling that car. Yeah. If the courts have
taxes on bread and milk as well are being
declared.
Who is paying for this bread and milk? Anyway.
Yeah, that this is unconstitutional, then it is absolutely wrong. It's obnoxious for somebody to be gallivanting around in a car at a public expense.
Who said that?
It is completely wrong. Now, the problem I have is with the quality of journalism. Yeah, and I'm a journalist myself, trained by teachers of journalism and a trainer of journalists. And I restate, the people who are doing this journalism are not people I have trained. If they are people that I have trained, there would be substance, there would be depth, there would be balance in sourcing, there would be fairness. You don't just say people are driving. Who are these people who are driving?
What are they driving?
Which cars are they driving? Give us some of the numbers of the registrations and where.
No. Where is this driving coming from?
Allow me.
Because I've not heard anyone.
It's a street talk.
No, this was his.
It was his, and it came from him.
It came from
before it came to him.
You cannot castigate the whole profession because of their sentiments have been fair.
And I have not castigated the whole profession. I have said they are not journalists who have been trained by people like me and myself. And you are not one of the ones I'm castigating.
No, I'm not even saying that.
Let me be heard. And one of the things that we do as good journalists is to allow free thinking. So allow free thinking around this table, and then it can be rebutted. Yeah, that there should be depth, there should be substance. You don't just say that people are driving cars that they were appointed. The other time we were even seeing some suggesting that they have been to State House to pick up some packages. Good journalism owes this country deep, substantiated reportage, analytical reportage. You see, we have got social media and bloggers doing a lot of the rumor mongering out there. And for legacy journalism to remain relevant, it must be substantive, it must be deep, it must be analytical, it must be bold. Name reprobates by name, and not just float some rumor that somebody is doing something. And I disagree very profoundly with my fellow panelists that we are talking about people who cannot defend themselves. This is not parliament. Mheshimiwa will want to know where people may not defend themselves. They can defend themselves. They can come here and defend themselves. I've already seen Moses Kuria has defended himself on X, saying that he did not appoint Jack Maribe. We do not know the veracity of that. That debate is ongoing. But I'd just like to draw our attention to the very seminal publication by Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky. It's titled Manufacturing Consent, the Political Economy of the Mass Media. The media are very powerful. Yeah? We are very powerful. That's why we have been called the Fourth Estate. And those who called us the Fourth Estate said we were more powerful than the other three estates of the Parliament of Great Britain at the time. That we create lasting impressions when we say things in these papers, when we say things on TV, on radio, and we owe it to the public to do research and to report. We cannot just say there are 480 ghost workers and we are allowed to go scot-free with that. We drop that story, we leave it there, then we wait for somebody else to say another 600 ghost workers have been found somewhere. We report that, we drop it. If we have been told there are 480 ghost workers in State House, we must stay with that story until we unearth, we exorcise the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
I finished.
All right, you finished, but you went off on a tangent. I was talking about the CSS, or you wanted just to go hammer and tongs on journalism.
The CSS, remember I'm a journalist.
I agree.
Yeah?
No, I'm not castigating you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so when I talk about journalists, remember that I talk also about myself.
I know.
And there's no need.
But I have no qualms.
No need for us to be jittery. We must do a bit of introspection.
No one is jittery.
Yeah? I'm a journalist, if you are doubting, trained at the School of Journalism, University of Nairobi.
Barack.
Yeah? And other places. The CSS, people like my friend Kipruto Arab Kiro should be very cautious. They're going to form government very soon. And they're going to find that they want CSS. Yeah?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
These things which we castigate around here, we should be very careful. And when that time comes...
They need to pacify some political cronies.
Yes. They're going to need those CSS. So don't take that position just because it is William Ruto who is in State House today. In fact, I believe William Ruto has learned his lesson, because at some point, when he was on the campaign trail, he also appeared to gravitate towards opposing the notion of having this CSS, notwithstanding the fact that some of them were from his corner of the then Jubilee government. The big lesson we are taking from this is that we should not take these positions on public issues just because of where we are standing for the time being. Yeah? We are going to need those things in the future. And I think it was a mistake for us to have left the position of assistant cabinet secretaries as their correct denomination should be from the Constitution when we were making it in 2010. Assistant ministers, junior ministers are part of the system all over the world. And so 22, I think it's a good idea. Let them be there. I don't speak for this government. I speak objectively, and you have seen that I never hesitate to take this government to task, including His Excellency the President himself, when I see that there's need for him to be taken to task. And even this morning I've done so around this table. The 22 are justified.
23.
Yeah, they're 21.
23.
23.
They are justified. The question is about the 27 CASs.
No, the 27.
To make it
the
50.
22 as a
The 22?
Yes.
22,
Okay.
yes.
Right.
We don't need
Not to 20.
50
Okay, 22, yeah.
CSS.
Yeah.
But it comes, you know, the omission of assistant CSS or ministers from the statutes and from the Constitution itself especially has a history. We were coming from a history of bloated government, a bloated executive, that under President Moi we had, I think, about 40 ministers and perhaps 3 times as many assistant ministers. Yeah? In Parliament, the government always outnumbered the opposition. Under President Kibaki, the Nusu Mkate government, we had more than 40 ministers and about 120 assistant ministers. So we wanted to protect ourselves from that kind of bloating, and I think we went overboard. We must open some space for the CSS.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, Dibal, do you realize Dr. Barak Muluka is becoming a bully?
He's bullying you.
He's bullying me. I did not say at all the position of CAS.
I didn't see you in Form 1.
Today is such a... It's become such a bully beef.
I did not see him in Form 1.
It depends on which school you went.
When I was in Form 2, I never saw you.
It depends on which school. Yeah. Now, the issue is simple. I did not fight the issue of CAS. In fact, I said they are required.
Yeah.
I even went ahead to fortify that position by saying, because people are quick to go to the issue that this is a political reject. Professor Kindiki was to run and failed to secure any position in Tharaka Nithi. Does not become a political reject on the basis of that.
No.
Because he still got his qualification as a professional. Number two, I was very clear that these reports are done by institutions of government. Controller and Auditor General is an institution. Public Service Commission is an institution. And it's up to those institutions really to tell us what the truth is. And when there is an audit query, I am saying it for the sake of Barak Muluka, the bully that I see him is creating himself into, is that if nobody gives the answer, that is when it becomes an audit query. But if answers were given at any particular stage, they might raise, why did you buy this car when there was another car serving the same purpose? And if the issue is explained well, that issue ceases to be an audit query. That's why there is a committee of parliament where the Auditor General raises issues, they go there, they ventilate on the issue, and when the issue is answered, it ceases to be an audit query that goes now to be published by the relevant committee of parliament. But even before it gets to parliament, each department is given a chance to answer certain queries raised by the officer from controller CNG. So I feel we need to make a clear distinction among ourselves that this is not hearsay. This is information from a credible source. The second issue, I think the one of CS I had already discussed fully. It's only Barak Muluka who never listened to me because he was planning to vilify me.
He was planning on how the tools
I've been lucky.
a bully will use to.
He has bullied him. He has bullied you. Now I was the last to be bullied, but he bullied me on the wrong reason.
And he even bullied himself.
Today is really thrown me off the kilter a bit.
Dr. Muluka, preserve your comments so you don't bully Mheshimiwa until he explains himself. And I think next time we will be careful about that.
He's whipped up all this Noam Chomsky's book and
but we
the state.
Noam Chomsky.
I agree. I have. There's no refutation on that.
We are really supporting journalists in this country. They are doing a beautiful job. Or what you are saying is that some of the information that comes into the public domain is subject to a conversation. It's not final, and it should be taken as just a final thing.
Fantastic, and that's why we have this forum, so that we can interrogate these issues.
It can be discussed, so it's not like something that is just closing everything.
Indeed.
So we are just opening a conversation.
And I'm their teacher.
We accept.
And as their teacher,
so they are doing
I'm
a fantastic
entitled to
job.
bringing them back to the rail and telling them this is how to do it. And I'm sure that there are some good journalists out there who are following, who are listening, and they are going to say, our teacher Barak has said this, we are going to raise the bar.
Nyerere used to call what Barak is doing ubabe. Ubabe is trying to elevate yourself.
But I am a teacher. I train journalists.
What you are, I cannot say, I'm a politician. I served for 20 years. The moment you say that,
there can come here people who will say what the teacher is saying.
No, we know you are a journalist.
True.
You don't have to
he has trained us very well. And sometimes we slip off the railroad, and we have got to be restored, to be called.
But we don't condemn your students in the public.
He's
condemned your students.
Don't condemn your students in public. The journalists are doing a beautiful job. even those who are the beginners, we support them. But this issue of reporting, we are saying that it's subject to conversation, further conversation.
Right, okay.
We talk about this issue of KRA.
No, the bit of KRA, no, we don't have time. We're stuck for time.
We don't have time, but one fundamental thing, a question you cannot ask a man, you don't ask a woman in an interview. Basic principle of human resource. A question you cannot ask a man, you cannot ask a woman in an interview by saying, are you pregnant? Because you cannot ask him, Barak Muluk, are you pregnant?
No.
Or even subjecting him to pregnancy test. It is unconstitutional and it's also immoral.
Right. Thank you. Barak, your closing remarks?
My closing remarks are that we need responsibility all round in government. People who seem to have employed somebody regularly must be taken to task. People who seem to have 480 ghost workers must be called to order. And even be punished for it. Yeah, we don't just call them to order, we punish them for it. And finally, for my fellow scribes out there, I hope you take it in good faith that we have got to do what we are supposed to do, because our role is to inform, our role is to comment, and our role is to set agenda for the country, and we must do so substantively.
And educate and entertain at the end of the day. Thank you for education, thank you for entertainment. Kindiki, your closing remarks?
My closing remarks is that we need sobriety in the national conversations because there are some issues that are affecting the new government that is in place just last year. And I think there are quite a number of things that we need to consider as a country, so that as we move forward, we move as one country, one republic, with a common goal. I think that is very, very important. So we care for one another and be fair to all of us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really enjoyed the contribution this morning. Always a treat having you on Friday. On behalf of us, also Brian Weke, I just want to thank him. He was feeling a bit rough. He couldn't make it for the show this morning. But nonetheless, we've enjoyed your contribution. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. You've been watching Uongozi today here on Morning Prime. And News Diary is up next.